Let me ask you a question. What if the most effective framework for achieving your deepest personal dreams, like finding fulfillment or strengthening your relationships or finally getting healthy, wasn't created by a guru or a life coach, but was designed by Intel in the 1970s to hit ruthless business targets? I'm talking about OKRs. And if you just shiver with a bit of work related PTSD, I get it. We are taught to keep our corporate lives and our personal lives separate. But today, I'm going to show you how to steal the most brutally effective tool from the boardroom and use it to finally conquer the goals that matter most. We have all been there. When the New Year's usher in a fresh round of festive jingles, we have all experienced that New Year, New Me rush of excitement. This very calendar year, we would become changed women. The other day, I found an old New Year resolutions note I wrote 13 years ago. It goes something like be super fit, publish a book, compose a song, learn 3 languages, perform on stage, etc. I actually laughed out loud when I saw it, and I had to call my husband over to look at how ridiculous it was. I had no concept of what was realistic to achieve in a year whatsoever. 2 months into the new year, and my initial enthusiasm wore off. Needless to say, none of these goals were completed that year. Over the years, I've dabbed in and out of this whole personal goal setting thing and realized that looking back at a set of forgotten goals made me feel like a failure enough that I wanted to shy away from this exercise altogether. Why do you think it is so hard to stick to a goal? I think for many of us, the first pitfall is the all or nothing mindset. The goals, like the ones I set 13 years ago, might be too overwhelming for us to fit into our already packed schedule. Perhaps we are perfectionists who feel disappointed when we can't see results fast enough, so we choose to give up entirely. A few years ago, I was trying to build a habit to meditate by using the Headspace app. How it works is you earn a streak for every consecutive day you show up to meditate. But if you miss one day, you will lose your streaks. I was keeping up with the habit diligently, but there was one day that I couldn't meditate because of external reasons, and I lost my streaks. Once that happened, I completely lost interest in continuing with the app. Another pitfall we have is the goals might be guilt-driven by societal or family's expectation. For example, I should lose weight or I should find a boyfriend because I'm feeling an external pressure. Because there's no intrinsic motivation, we might give up when life gets busy. Last but not least, our goals might be good, but we don't have a framework to keep ourselves accountable. They become a wish list instead of an actionable plan. Without a way to track progress and measure success, we might lose momentum and give up prematurely. The funny thing is, while I was failing at my personal goals, I was part of a team at work that was hitting these massive, audacious targets. The secret wasn't magic, it was a framework. And that framework was OKR, which stands for Objective Key Result. Some of my listeners might be shivering in our PTSD response to these 3 letters. I know. But as much as I wanted to keep work and life separate, I had to admit, the system we used at work was brutally effective. And I wondered, could I steal its secrets for my own life? Think about it. When a public company underperforms their profit guidance, the company's share price drops, investor confidence plummets, employees' compensation might be cut. Pretty serious consequences. And they have to orchestrate a big group of employees, not just one person. The stakes are pretty high. Frameworks like OKR exist, probably because they deliver. Think of it this way. The objective is a dream. The key results are the proof. Say my objective this year is to improve my physical health. It is a good objective, but it is really vague. What does physically healthy mean to me? How can I tell if I achieve it? That's where the key result bit comes in. To me, an important component of good physical health is a healthy level of body fat, because too much body fat causes lots of inflammation in the body. Let's say a healthy body fat percentage is 24% and below. And I can use it as a key result because it is measurable and gives me a clear indicator on whether my objective is met. Let's look at another example. Say my objective is to grow my monthly income in 6 months. A measurable key result can be a 10% increase, meaning if I'm earning 5K per month now, 6 months later I would like to earn 5.5K a month. Again, what constitutes success is very clear. Some listeners might ask, is it too simplistic to have one key result per objective? For instance, under the objective of improving physical health, one can argue that solely focusing on body composition is overly simplifying things, and that's a fair observation. The official OKR gospel says you can have up to 5 key results. So it is possible to add more key results, such as being able to run 2.4 km within 15 minutes, which is a measure of cardiovascular fitness. But this is my rule. One objective, one key result. And it's the single biggest thing that makes this work for me. It simplifies everything and it kills the overwhelm. I focus on one key result that matters the most to me. Once I'm done with it, I will move on to another key result under the same objective. Some of my listeners might have noticed that in the previous examples, the key results can only be measured at the end. I will only know if I have successfully altered my body composition at the end of the year. And that's not ideal, because 1 year is a really long time. You want to get signals along the way to know if you're on track so that you can make the right adjustments. I have to admit, I myself fell into this trap many times, which made me lose momentum halfway. But luckily, I have learned from it and allowed me to share 2 tips with you so you won't have to make the same mistake. Firstly, the time frame for an objective shouldn't be too long. My recommendation is 3 months. It is long enough for you to take meaningful actions, but short enough for you to reach a conclusion. Let's revisit the physical health objective I set out at the beginning of the podcast. Suppose my current body fat level is 35% now. It is not realistic to set a key result of decreasing my body fat to 24% in 3 months. I will choose something more achievable, such as a 2% decrease. Secondly, what you can track is the actions you can control, or in other words, the inputs. This is different from the outputs, which are the key results. When it comes to body composition, the inputs can be my protein intake and how often I do resistance training. If I struggle with hitting my protein goal, what I should reflect on is how to incorporate more protein in my diet. If I struggle to do resistance training twice a week, I should reflect on why. Was it because the training time was after work when I had no energy? If yes, then I can experiment with a different workout time to see if it helps me hit my target better. There is no guarantee that after doing all these, you will achieve the key result for sure. There are always going to be other factors that are outside of your control. But focusing on things you can control gets you 80% there. So far, we have talked quite a bit about goals that are related to hard skills. How does the OKR framework apply to goals that are related to soft skills or relationships? Say, as a product manager, I want to improve my ability to influence without authority. As a daughter, I want to deepen my relationship with my parents. These are objectives that are hard to have concrete key results that definitively tell me whether I have succeeded or failed. In both instances, I would use the inputs or the actions I can control as a proxy for the key result. A meaningful way to improve my ability to influence in my company can be to speak up on my domain in more public forums. A concrete key result I can aim for is to conduct 3 sharings to the wider team where I discuss my learnings from various projects. Similarly, to deepen my relationship with my parents, what I can do is to make sure I call them often. Calling my parents once a week can become a proxy for the key result in this case. With all that said, some of my listeners might be curious about my OKRs. In the spirit of transparency, here are some of my OKRs from July to September 2025. Firstly, is to push the boundary of my physical fitness with the key result of completing the freshman triathlon event in July safely. which I did. Secondly, is to embrace the mindset of abundance with the key result of practicing meditation daily. And thirdly, is to grow the audience of this podcast with the key result of having 50 subscribers by September. So it would mean a lot to me if you could click subscribe on YouTube or follow on Spotify if you are enjoying this episode so far. Before we end, I'd like to share one common predictor of how likely you will achieve your goals regardless of what goals you have. It is whether you reflect on your progress weekly, specifically what you can do differently next week to hit your target that makes all the difference in the world. With that, I'd like to leave you with a question. What is one goal you would want to pursue in the next 3 months? If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe or follow the Third Spring podcast so that you won't miss future updates. Meanwhile, live well and pursue your why. Till we meet again.